In the heart of the Amazon, when the sun dies and darkness swallows the rainforest whole, there's a sound that makes even the bravest souls freeze in terror. A whistle, sharp, relentless, inhuman. And if you hear it, she's already found you. This is the legend of Matinta Pereira. Picture this. It's 3 in the morning in a small village on the banks of the Amazon River. The air is thick, humid, suffocating. Most families are deep in sleep, protected only by wooden walls and rusted tin roofs. Then it begins. A whistle cuts through the night. Not a bird, not a human, something else. It starts distant, almost playful, but with each repetition it grows louder, closer, more aggressive. The sound lands on your roof. The wooden beams creak under an invisible weight. You lie frozen in your hammock, sweat dripping down your spine, praying it will stop. But it doesn't. The whistle continues, shrill, mocking, demanding. Because Matinta Pereira doesn't just visit, she hunts, she torments, and she won't leave until you give her what she wants. Matinta Pereira is one of the most feared entities in Brazilian folklore, particularly in the northern Amazon regions of Pará, Amazonas, and Maranhão. But unlike other legends that fade with time, this one remains alive, whispered about in markets, feared in villages, experienced by those who swear they've heard her call. So who or what is she? According to legend, Matinta Pereira is an elderly woman, often portrayed as a witch or a cursed soul. By day, she appears completely ordinary, maybe even familiar. Your neighbor, the old woman at the market, someone you'd pass without a second glance. But when night falls, her true nature emerges. She transforms into a bird, specifically resembling a striped cuckoo with dark, tattered feathers and eyes that gleam with ancient malice. In this form, she takes flight, soaring through the darkness until she finds a house, a victim, someone who will hear her terrible song. And then she lands on the roof, and she whistles. The sound is described as sharp, high-pitched, almost like a scream forced through clenched teeth. It pierces through walls, invades dreams, drives people to madness. Some say it sounds like a human trying to imitate a bird. Others claim it's a bird trying to mock human suffering. But here's what makes this legend truly terrifying. The whistle isn't just a sound. It's a demand, a supernatural contract being forced upon you in the dead of night. Because Matinta Pereira wants something, and if you don't promise to give it to her, She will whistle until dawn, until you break, until you beg for mercy. And even then, she might not stop. Now, every legend has rules, patterns, ways to survive the encounter. And Matinta Pereira's curse follows a dark, twisted ritual that has been passed down through generations. When the whistling begins and you realize it's her, you have a choice. Actually, you have the choice, the only one that matters. You can try to ignore it, cover your ears, pray, bury your head under pillows soaked with sweat and terror. But that never works. The whistle only gets louder, more insistent, more unbearable. Or you can give in. You must shout into the darkness, make a promise, offer her a gift, something she desires. The most common offerings: tobacco, strong coffee, cachaça, the local sugarcane spirit, sometimes food, fish caught fresh from the river. The moment you make this promise out loud, shouting it into the night with desperation in your voice, the whistling stops. Silence returns. The oppressive weight lifts. You can breathe again. Sleep might even come, though it will be restless, haunted. But understand this: the deal has been made, and Matinta Pereira never forgets. The next morning arrives with golden sunlight filtering through the trees. Birds sing, life returns to normal. You might almost convince yourself it was a nightmare, a trick of an exhausted mind. Then comes the knock at your door. You open it, and there she stands, an old woman, weathered face, tired eyes, a gentle smile that doesn't quite reach those eyes. Maybe she's wearing a simple dress, carrying a worn basket. She looks harmless, fragile even. And she asks in a voice sweet as honey, "Do you have anything for me?" This is the test, the completion of the contract. You must give her what you promised: the tobacco, the coffee, the cachaça, whatever you offered in your moment of desperation. Some people, brave or foolish, try to refuse. They claim they made no such promise. They slam the door in her face. They laugh it off. Those people learn the hard way that you do not break a deal with Matinta Pereira. The whistling returns the next night, but worse, louder, more violent. Some say she doesn't just whistle, she scratches at the roof, pounds on the walls, enters dreams, and turns them into waking nightmares. Livestock dies mysteriously, crops wither overnight, children fall sick with fevers that no medicine can cure. Bad luck, misfortune, tragedy, all cascade down upon the family that refused her. But those who honor the promise, those who hand over the tobacco with respect, who offer the coffee with a trembling hand, they're left alone. Matinta Pereira takes her gift, nods once, and disappears into the forest. Until she chooses to visit again. Because once she knows where you live, once she's heard your voice make that promise in the dark, you're marked, forever in her territory, forever on her list of homes to visit when hunger or boredom strikes. Welcome to the nightmare that never truly ends. So, where does this legend come from? What created this terrifying figure that has haunted the Amazon for centuries? So, where does this legend come from? What haunted the Amazon for centuries? Like many Brazilian folklore entities, Matinta Pereira is a blend, a fusion of indigenous Amazonian beliefs, African spiritual traditions brought by enslaved peoples, and European witchcraft folklore introduced during colonization. She is, in many ways, a living testament to Brazil's complex cultural tapestry. Indigenous tribes of the Amazon have long believed in shapeshifters, shamans who could take animal forms, spirits that walked between the human world and the supernatural realm. The concept of transformation, of beings that appear human but harbor something ancient and powerful within, is deeply rooted in Amazonian spirituality. African traditions contributed the idea of spiritual contracts, offerings made to entities in exchange for favor or to avoid misfortune. The ritualistic aspect, the giving of gifts, the respect paid to supernatural beings, echoes practices found in Candomblé and Umbanda. And from European colonizers came the witch, the old woman practicing dark arts, the figure feared and ostracized, living on the edges of society, wielding power that terrified the common folk. Matinta Pereira embodies all of these. She is the shapeshifter, the contract maker, the witch, a perfect storm of cultural fears crystallized into one entity that has survived centuries of storytelling. Here's where it gets even more interesting. The legend isn't uniform across the Amazon. Different regions tell different versions, add unique details, transform the story in fascinating ways. In some villages, Matinta Pereira isn't just one witch. She's a title, a curse that can be passed down or learned. There are multiple Matintas, a whole network of them, flying through the night, visiting different homes, collecting their tributes. Other versions claim she feeds on more than just tobacco and coffee. Some whisper that she drinks blood, particularly targeting children or the elderly. In these darker tellings, the gifts are protection money. You pay up or you become the meal. Certain communities believe you can trap her. If you place scissors arranged in the shape of a cross, along with a rosary and a new broom near your door, she cannot enter. The religious symbols repel her dark magic. The scissors cut her power. The broom sweeps away her curse. But here's the truly chilling part. Many people in the Amazon don't treat this as folklore. They treat it as fact, as reality. I've read accounts from people who claim to have encountered her, not stories passed down through generations, but personal experiences, recent experiences. A whistle heard in 2020, a promise made in 2018, an old woman appearing at a door in 2022 asking for her tobacco. Sleep researchers and anthropologists have tried to explain it away. Sleep paralysis combined with cultural conditioning. The actual whistles of night birds, particularly the striped cuckoo, misinterpreted through the lens of folklore. Mass hysteria in isolated communities. But ask someone from a small village along the Solimoens River or deep in the Para countryside, and they'll tell you something different. They'll tell you the scientists are wrong. They'll tell you they've heard her, seen her, paid her. They'll tell you that some legends survive because they're not legends at all. They're warnings. Let me share a story. This one comes from an online forum I found, posted by someone claiming to be from Belém, the capital of Pará state. They wrote about their grandmother's house, a small wooden structure surrounded by rainforest, about an hour from the city. Every summer, the family would visit, and every summer, around the same week in July, the whistling would begin. The poster described it perfectly. The sound that wasn't quite bird, wasn't quite human, starting around midnight, continuing for hours. Their grandmother, without fail, would shuffle to the window in her nightgown and shout the same promise into the darkness. "Tobacco! I'll leave tobacco for you!" And every morning, like clockwork, an old woman they'd never seen before would appear. Their grandmother would hand over a pouch of tobacco, the woman would smile, and she'd vanish back into the forest. The poster ended their story with a question that haunted me. We never saw that woman any other time, not in town, not at church, not at the market, only those mornings after the whistling. Who was she? Where did she come from? And why did my grandmother, who was one of the most rational people I've ever known, treat this ritual with such deadly seriousness? The comments were split. Half dismissed it as family superstition. The other half, people from the Amazon region sharing their own encounters, their own whistles, their own promises made in darkness. This is what makes Matinta Pereira different from many folklore creatures. She hasn't faded. She hasn't become a cute story for children. She remains active in the collective consciousness of the Amazon, a living, breathing part of the cultural landscape. So, what's the truth? Is Matinta Pereira real? Is she a witch cursed to fly forever through Amazonian nights? A shapeshifter bound by ancient magic? Or is she nothing more than the sound of a cuckoo bird, filtered through centuries of fear and cultural storytelling? Here's what I believe. The truth doesn't matter as much as the power the legend holds. Think about it. This story has survived colonization, modernization, the internet age. In a world where you can Google any mystery, where every dark corner can be illuminated, Matinta Pereira still flies. People still make promises. Old women still collect their tobacco. Because legends like this serve a purpose. They connect communities. They pass down cultural values, respect for the supernatural, the importance of keeping your word. They remind us that there are things in this world, particularly in the deep Amazon, where civilization's light barely reaches, that we cannot fully explain or control. And maybe that's what terrifies us most. Not the whistle itself, not the old woman at the door, but the idea that in our modern world of smartphones and satellites and scientific certainty, there might still be mysteries we cannot solve, entities we cannot rationalize away, sounds in the darkness that have no logical explanation. So tonight, if you find yourself in the Amazon, in a small village where the jungle presses close and the darkness is absolute, and you hear a whistle cutting through the night, don't ignore it. Don't laugh it off. Don't tell yourself it's just a bird. Make your promise, prepare your tobacco, and pray that when morning comes, the old woman at your door accepts your offering with grace. Because in the Amazon, some debts must be paid, some contracts must be honored, and some legends are more than just stories. They're survival guides. This is Matinta Pereira, the witch who whistles in the dark, and she's still out there, waiting for the next promise, the next victim, the next soul to mark as her own. If you enjoyed this journey into Brazilian folklore, please hit that like button. Subscribe for more legends from around the world, and leave a comment below. Have you ever heard an unexplained whistle in the night? Do you believe in Matinta Pereira? Or do you think there's a rational explanation for it all? Share your thoughts, share your stories, because legends live on through the people who tell them. Until next time, keep your tobacco ready, and when darkness falls, listen carefully. You never know